Hello, televiewers. Good evening and welcome to Prime on My Media Prime. We are going to be starting the program shortly after the short break. Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to this other edition of Prime on My Media Prime. We this day are going to be looking at the so much talked about reforms for the Electoral Code as vindicated by political parties. The SDF has done that severally. And recently, the CRM, the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, said they were not going for elections until there is electoral reforms. We also are going to be looking at other issues, especially talking on the much talked about transition for Cameroon across the board. So we look at where transition is needed to and we are going to be discussing this with our panelists who are already in the house. Muthaga Silvanus is here with us. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Kum, and good evening to all the televiewers of Media Prime TV. It's my very first time appearing on your TV channel, especially for a program of this magnitude. I want to greet the militants of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement that are watching this program all over the globe, and to tell them that the long-awaited moment for us to discuss issues concerning the Electoral Code in Cameroon has come. We saw in social media a couple of days ago, the Director General of the LECAMS Cameroon asking the regional delegates to prepare for reforms within the Electoral Code. And many of us have been asking questions whether it's not a scam, because we expected that this call would have been done for political parties and the civil society as a whole to begin to work on that. Tonight, I think we'll be talking on it, Mr. Kum. Thank you for inviting me.
Also with us is Atem Bako. He is a Pan-Africanist par excellence. Good evening and welcome, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kum Leonard, and I welcome all my other panelists who are in the house and all the viewers of my media prime at this hour. I hope our views and our opinions may differ, but I hope that it goes a long way to contribute to see how we can make an input in this nation. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ndiwum Emmanuel is also part of this edition of the program. He is a member of the civil society, very active and concerned with political evolutions in our country. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kum. A special evening to all the televiewers of Prime which is, of course, a program that has been much cherished. We know they are watching us right from the presidency, and we think what we are going to say here this evening will have an impact across the whole of Cameroon, okay, Africa, and why not the world.
Okay, c'est Fabian Bitogol. Fabian Bitogol is representing the PCRN, CPRN, a movement led by Cabral Libi. He is here with us, I'm sure, very first edition on Prime R.
Yes.
Okay,
my first time.
Good evening, welcome.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Akum. It's a pleasure for me to be there at first time. I am the member of CPRN, and I think I am there this night to share with the spectator and my co-panelists about the thematic we are looking for today.
Okay.
So thank you.
Okay, I will start with you, Muthaga. Was it time for Cameroonians to start thinking transition looking at a different direction of things.
Mr. Kum, let me start by greeting the televiewers who are watching this program right back in Tokombere, which I left 3 days ago.
Okay.
I think in Tokombere we were there with the President-elect, His Excellency Maurice Kamto. We went there to see off the first National Vice President of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, Mr. Mamadou Mota, that had been in prison for over 20 months. He was arrested last 3rd of June 2019 by the tyranny government in place, but thank God is out safe and sound. Coming back to transition in Cameroon, I think it's a long awaited debate, and we expect that it would have been a topic from the President of the Republic since 1992, but he has left it so many years gone by, and today we are talking on it. So if you look at most of the political parties we have in Cameroon, especially those of the opposition, we look at the SDF, we look at the UDC, we look at the UNDP, and we look at the CPDM itself. You'll find that most of the leaders that are running these political parties are above 70 years. If you look at that of Mr. B. Vondobia, he's almost about 88 years old. If you look at that of the UNDP that is led by, I'm sure, by Bello Boba Magari, he's above 75. If you look at the UDC of late Adamunda Mjoya, if he were still alive, I think he would have been about 70 years above. Today, it's regrettable that most of our youth, especially those who are clamoring to grab maybe some posts within the government, still look at these old people as if they are the right people that we should be supporting at all costs. So I think knowing that the future of every nation lies in the hands of the youth, I think it's high time we told the youths that they have to start thinking of taking over the relay button from the older generation. So within us, especially the CRM, I think Professor Maurice Kamto has always sounded it clearly to most of the militants that it has never been Maurice Kamto at all costs, and that if he had to set the pace for somebody else to take over him and then rule Cameroon as the president, he would not hesitate leaving that chance for a youth that is so vibrant, that is ready, that is prepared to take the future of the CRM forward. So that's why you see that at the level of the National Director of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, you have youths that are really behind the president of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement. Some of them are even always out to really post strong opposition. You see, there are times that when you reach the National Directorate of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, you find that when there is a bill that has to be tabled, there is always debate, very highly tensioned debate. So it's not just for the youths of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement to sit quietly and then maybe do what they call cute.
You think the national president is ready to hand over the command button to a younger person if there was a need?
The Professor Maurice Kamto is very ready for that.
Okay.
He's very ready for that.
Okay.
And I think that we are preparing youths who can take over. As I told you, if you look at the way the CRM is made, for example, you have 6 special advisors who are the ones that work directly with the president of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement. We have 3 youths. You have I, who is a special advisor. You have Dr. Lipot Meda, that is a special advisor, is a youth. You have Madame Ajidatu, who is from the northern regions. She is a youth. Then 2 of them, who we can call them older generation. You have His Majesty Bilwa Efa, who is not yet up to 60. You have Honorable Abed Zongang, who is just about 60 above.
But it's an old guard now. How do you want to call Abed Zongang?
No, I'm giving the age composition of the special advisors. So you find that they are just 2 who are old people.
Okay, I'm coming back to you. Good evening to you, our favorite viewer, Godzi, New Kongi. And to you, David Chamba, Chi Valentine, good evening to you. Son State, good evening to you. And Deep Tabe Ebot, always there. Roland Fongu, Modesin, and to you, Mbela Bruno. Now, should we be talking of transition today? Is it not really too late for Cameroonians to be talking of transition? Is this the time that we should start thinking about the need for transition in Cameroon?
Mr. Liu, transition should be, how will I put it, a natural thing to leadership in Cameroon. It should not be a thing of a particular time, because in transition you are talking about successors or about succession, and creating a vacancy for growth and for young leaders to rise up and replace the older generation. So I think that Cameroon is neither too late or is too early. I think that it is something which is applicable in every society, and that is what we really need as well in most parts in Africa today. That we see, like we have our head of state, Biabi Vondo in Cameroon, who has been in power for over 30-something years. The question here is, what is the challenge? How do we create the balance of a transition whereby we know that in the period of time that he has been in power, these are the kind of leaders that his government has been able to create in all of this process of years that we have been in. We are not talking of a successor by his own son, but we are talking of a general leadership skills that the Cameroon, the CPDM or the ruling party has been able to create, whereby if tomorrow we don't have the head of state anymore in power, we are sure that there are young people in Cameroon who are ready and able to pick up the mandate and the mantle and carry Cameroon to where Cameroon is supposed to go to. So the challenge we are facing here, Mr. Liu, I will still come back to say that the link between the younger generation and the older generation is what is missing, and we need to be able to diagnose what really is the cause of this problem, whereby we have grandfathers, we have fathers in a place of leadership, in a throne of authority, whereby we don't have that mutual relationship with their own grandchildren and with their own children. So you wonder, where are these old people going to with their own system of leadership? The experience they have been able to build in all of these years, Mr. Liu, when are they going to pass it over to the younger generation? We understand that the younger generation also have new ideas to implement, a lot of things to improvise in their own generation to be able to contribute in nation building. But how do we merge these two, Mr. Liu? That is a very pertinent question. How do we link these old people and the younger people in such a way that we have seen that in our tradition, in our culture, going back to the villages? You realize that an older parent, in most places, it is the grandparents that even raise up their grandchildren in the places of their own children. So when they have that opportunity to have grandchildren, they impart all the wisdom and knowledge in this grandchildren in order to build a better society, so that the tradition and the custom and the values is not being swept away. But here in Cameroon today, in our own political atmosphere, Mr. Liu, we are not seeming to find a link between the older generation and the younger generation.
When you say there is a missing link between the older generation and the new generation, you're talking about the old and new guard. Why? What is the missing link?
The missing link here is, the way I look at it is that the link is, the cooperation is not there. The ideas, the vision, the views don't seem to align. They don't match. So it's like the two are opposing each other. Now, but what I understand, or what I've been able to diagnose, Mr. Liu, in this situation is that we have been applying a system which does not derive from the spirit of the Cameroonians themselves. We seem to be applying another culture which does not conform to what we have been used to. For example, we have a king in power. In Cameroon, he is a king because he has been for all these years. In the West, he's a president. So how does a king apply a democratic system in his country? That's why you realize today we can have all elections, but nobody is going to remove CPDM in power.
You mean the president of the Republic?
I'm talking about the president of Cameroon. It's a king.
Okay.
We have a king enthroned, Mr. Liu.
Mr. Emmanuel, do you think it's ripe for Cameroon to also witness a transition? And the president hinted on it as he addressed the youth during the traditional 11th February address to the young people, do you think there should have been a time for transition? Should Cameroonians be schooled on the need for a transition?
Well, I'll pick from something he said before I come directly. When he started off by saying transition should be a natural thing, it actually struck my heart. I say my heart because if it was to be natural, then we should be praying that God should add Mr. Bia more 30 years so that he remains there, so that we should know that nature favored him 100%. I don't think transition is something that should be natural. When they're talking about transition, let's look at it from the point of democracy. And if we were to look from the point of democracy, you bear witness with me that the government, the administration of a country is based on a set of rules called a constitution. And when this set of rules are being respected by those who are supposed to govern the people, the outcome of the transition is the result of this constitution, these rules. But unfortunately, you know, Cameroon, we have a lot of problems in Cameroon that even if you needed experts to start enumerating the problems of Cameroon for 3 months, they will never be able to actually enumerate the problems of Cameroon.
You mean what people say that if they explain Cameroon to you and you understand,
it means something is wrong with you or something is wrong with he who is trying to explain it. But my problem is really that let's focus on the topic itself. Is transition really ripe? I think if we were to take the example of trees that bear fruit, you know that a fruit that is already at the point to be plucked and eaten, you don't eat it at that time, it falls off, it gets decayed, it is losing. And the time for Cameroon to have had transition long past, and we cannot be today in 2021 still talking about transition. I, Emmanuel, I have waited for that transition until I got tired and I almost lose hope. You see, but I have a problem. The problems of Cameroon are above the political parties in place. Because the regime that we have has successfully captured the political parties. They have again successfully captured the youth. They have a mechanism of a divisive mechanism. When they go to the youth, they try to throw some crumbs for the hungry youth. And they have succeeded because they have been able to impoverish the youth in Cameroon. I know a hungry man is an angry man and is a needy man. So they have successfully pushed the youth in Cameroon into the basket of hunger and extreme poverty, so that each time there is election, I know we'll be talking about electoral code after this, each time there's election, these hungry youths, they come out. They are lined behind the CPDM party, not because they even have an objective, but because they are hungry. So the time for transition in Cameroon
is long past.
Is long past, and it cannot be left in the hands of nature. If you say it is left in the hands of nature, I see you as a supporter of this regime who wants that this regime should, because 95% of them are old sit-tight squirrels in Ewane who do not even have an idea of what is happening to the nearest part of Cameroon. You cannot imagine that they will be building a stadium in Olembe. The person that building the stadium on his name has never visited that stadium. And that's why I keep saying, you cannot be saying that you want to keep Cameroon moving while you yourself, you cannot move. It doesn't work like that.
Okay, it doesn't work. Monsieur Fabian, Bitogol, oui, est-ce qu'il est temps aussi pour la transition au Cameroun?
Monsieur Akum,
oui.
Moi...
Monsieur Kum,
Monsieur Kum, autant pour moi.
Oui.
Pour moi et pour nous, PCRN, je peux vous rassurer que la transition est en marche.
Okay.
La transition est en marche depuis 2016, depuis 2017 environ. Et cette transition va grandissante.
Okay.
Depuis 4-5 ans, les jeunes ont compris que la transition ne se fera pas naturellement, comme on l'a dit. Ces vieux-là qui sont au pouvoir ne prendront pas ce pouvoir-là pour venir nous les remettre gentiment pour demander non. Comme on a l'habitude de le dire dans un jargon vernaculaire, la liberté, elle s'arrache.
Oui.
Et c'est aussi comme ça que le pouvoir, il s'arrache. Au Cameroun, on dit les personnes en âge de voter sont à 75%, compris entre 21 et 35 ans. Et 80% du peuple camerounais a moins de 35 ans, dit-on. Alors, il est nécessaire pour ces jeunes-là de comprendre que leur destin est entre leurs mains. Si on reste, on attend que ces papas qui sont septuagénaires, qui ont 80 ans et tout, nous donnent ce pouvoir-là. On n'a qu'à aller dormir et à espérer, à rêver. Mais si on est conscient qu'il est nécessaire que la transition se fasse et que les choses changent dans ce pays, chacun de nous doit s'engager. Chacun de nous doit devenir un modèle de transition. Chacun de nous doit prendre sur lui d'être un catalyseur de la transition. Et c'est ce que nous, au PCRN, nous avons commencé à faire depuis 2016, avec d'abord le mouvement 11 millions d'inscrits. Parce que pour qu'on fasse une transition, il faudrait que cela se fasse dans les normes. Si on veut éviter, bien sûr, d'être dans des situations, des pays, je ne veux pas dire des pays en guerre, parce que malheureusement, nous sommes déjà un pays en guerre, mais des pays dans lesquels la guerre civile est monnaie courante. Si on veut que la transition se fasse selon des normes, on doit s'engager. Et le modèle démocratique de transition, alors de dévolution du pouvoir, ce sont les élections. C'est pour cette raison que nous, depuis 2016, avec le mouvement 11 millions d'inscrits, on s'est dit que la clé nécessaire pour nous permettre d'aboutir à ce changement-là, c'est de s'inscrire tous sur les listes électorales, c'est d'agir en tant que citoyen, c'est le moment venu d'aller voter et de voter utile, de voter en son âme et conscience. Nous sommes conscients, comme il y a mon co-panéliste qui a dit, que lors des élections, le régime en place s'arrange à nourrir de façon temporaire les jeunes qui sont appelés à voter de façon à recueillir leur suffrage. Nous sommes allés même jusqu'à demander à ces gens-là que si on vous donne 10 000, si on vous donne du pain, si on vous donne de la sardine et tout, prenez parce que c'est votre argent. Mais quand vous allez dans l'une, dans l'espace, dans l'isoloir, votez en votre âme et conscience. Et personne ne viendra vous tenir rigueur après le vote. D'ailleurs, même qu'il sera difficile pour eux de contrôler chaque vote des jeunes.
Il y a ceux qui doivent aussi présenter peut-être ce qu'on appelle ballot box, le bulletin de vote
oui,
du PCRN
oui.
contre 2500 francs, non?
Exact. Ça, ce sont des mécanismes qui sont mis sur pied et ce sont des mécanismes contre lesquels nous travaillons en longueur de journée. Moi, j'étais dans un bureau de vote lors de l'élection présidentielle et je m'assurais qu'en sortant de mon bureau de vote, qu'aucun électeur n'avait sur lui un papier de quelque chose. Je me rassurais qu'il a tout jeté.
Okay.
Vous voyez un peu. Donc, pour revenir à ce qu'on disait, la transition, elle est en marche.
La transition,
elle est en marche. Maintenant, elle doit s'accentuer. Elle doit prendre de l'ampleur. Et pour qu'elle prenne de l'ampleur, il faudrait que plus de jeunes s'engagent. Plus nous sommes nombreux à engager dans le combat, plus nous sommes nombreux à toquer à la porte de ce régime-là en disant libérez, libérez, plus ils vont lâcher du lest et on aura les regains. Et je termine en vous disant que on peut même évaluer de façon statistique l'évolution. En 2016, c'était 0 candidat à la présidentielle ayant moins de 40 ans. En 2016, c'était 0 candidat de l'opposition ayant un certain âge aux élections municipales et législatives. Nous sommes en 2020 aujourd'hui. On a eu 2 candidats qui avaient moins de 40 ans. On a eu des candidatures, fort heureusement, parce que l'impact du mouvement jeune a même des effets, même dans le RDPC, même comme ça ne se fait pas encore ressentir. On a aujourd'hui des militants, non militants. On a nos militants qui sont élus députés, qui sont élus conseillers municipaux et qui travaillent au quotidien, on les voit. Donc, j'invite donc, pour cette occasion, toute la jeunesse qui nous suit en disant, engageons-nous. Et engageons-nous ensemble. Mon compagnon tout à l'heure a dit quelque chose de très important en disant que le régime a aussi comme stratégie de diviser. C'est normal. Quand ils veulent travailler pour la conservation du pouvoir, ils usent de tous les subterfuges. Maintenant, c'est à nous ici, là, par exemple, qui sommes conscients de la route qu'il faut prendre, à se mettre ensemble. Parce que si nous sommes divisés, c'est plus facile pour eux de se maintenir. Or, si nous sommes ensemble, on travaille, on trouve un consensus commun. On va facilement aboutir à ce processus de transition.
I don't know whether Paddy Asanga is online. If he's online, can we take him? Good evening, Paddy. Good evening, Paddy Asanga. Okay, the lines are not connected, but Muthaga, he raised an issue that power is taken, is not given. How committed are the youth themselves to take this power? Because we are talking about transition, and almost everybody is talking about the fact that we have old persons who have been there forever, but they will not hand power to you. You need to work to get the power.
Mr. Kum, it's regrettable that the CPDM is reducing Cameroonians to just a mere valueless think tank, because the problem in our country here, first of all, is not the problem of transition, age transition in leadership. It is a problem of a regime.
Okay.
A regime that has not been able to deliver for over 38 years. A regime that has an old generation of people that are redundant in the way they managed state affairs. They are not productive. Because I'm not saying that within the CRM, the issue of age does not matter. Within the CRM, the issue of age matters quite well. But we are in Cameroon, the real problem is the problem of a regime. We have people that have been in government for over 30 years today. They are not willing to march according to the trends of civilization. They remain on tradition. We are talking of a regime that is working without accountability. People keep on embezzling money that is for major projects in the nation. The wealth of the nation has been confiscated by the old octogenarians. And they come, here Mr. Bia comes out and tell you, come out with vain slogans that they need to be transition and all the like. I want to ask, how many youths can we count within the Central Committee of the CPDM? How many youths? I want to ask you, how many youths are governors in our nation? If you look at the age rates of the youths, you find that they are, if you look at the age rate of the governors, you find that they are above 70. Look at the general managers of major parastatal companies or public companies in our country. You find that they are above 70s. We have a regime that does not encourage meritocracy. It has to do with parrainage.
Yeah, but what we are saying is maybe painting a picture of what happens. But my question remains, do you wait for the government to hand that part to you, or you seize it like he...
Our brother just said it. He said, power is not handed, power is being seized. A hungry youth will seize power from billionaires who are octogenarians, who have the army under their control. They have a poor electoral system, which elections have been rigged day in, day out. You expect this youth to grab power? Are they going to pick arms?
Who votes for those you describe as octogenarians?
I'm talking of a hungry youth, people who are hungry,
yes,
who are hopeless. They don't know what to do.
Why did they not vote for a young candidate like Cabral Lebi?
You are talking of a young candidate. Can a hungry man vote for a young man who is poor and cannot give them anything? These guys, it has to do with the education that is prevailing in the nation. You know, these guys have decided to milk all Cameroonians dry. they have decided to maintain them in perpetual poverty, so that they will use this poverty as a mechanism, as a means to manipulate the consciences of the youth, to make the youth look at themselves as valueless, to make the youth even to distrust. The youth can no longer trust other youth. Today, whenever a youth is even given a post of responsibility or has even fought for a post of responsibility due to his age status, you find that other youths find it difficult to respect him.
So you blame the youths themselves?
I am not blaming the youth. The issue is that the issue is this. The youths we are talking of taking over need thorough education. That is why you find that within political parties like that, like the CRM, there is the academy of the party.
Okay.
So the academy
has an academy.
It has an academy. There is the academy of the party.
Who is the director of the academy?
It is Professor GJ.
Okay.
So he's working with other members. So they are working on how to train youths to be responsible, to make them to understand that we are living in a dictatorship where the wealth of the nation is confiscated. Don't forget that any of these youths that dares to be a militant of a genuine political party of the opposition, you find that the government does everything to freeze the youth.
That's why you went to prison?
Most of us were in prison. You saw that. We lost our jobs, spent 24 months in the prison and came out. And there is no compensation, released by the Court of Appeal, discharged and acquitted, and the government is there watching and tells you that you need to take over from them.
You wanted to be paid for going to prison?
Not paid for. Once the government declares that you were known guilty, means that they claim that they arrested you without any charges and dumped you in a prison. In a civilized country, in a state of law, there is supposed to be, you need to be...
it's a procedure that you should open now. Dr. Atem Bako, we are talking about transition across the board in Cameroon. Is the issue, is age a key factor, or, like he said, it's an issue of the regime in place?
Mr. Leo, you see, as a Pan-Africanist, this topic is more complicated than the way they seem to simplify it.
Okay.
It is not as easy as people may think that the youth just need to get up and take over power. If you have to make comparison between the older people and the younger people, you come to even realize that even when youths have power in their hand, they abuse power than what we are even facing today. We have so many examples that we can cite, seeing where we found young men who have taken up positions of authority, and they are abusing that.
They collaborate more with the octogenarians?
No,
is that what you're saying?
No, so what I'm just saying here is that we should not be struggling between old people and young people, because we seem to be focusing our energy and our blame on the wrong source, on the wrong area. We don't seem to understand what really the problem in Cameroon is. We just look at it in the eye as Cameroonians and seeing what is happening, and everybody put up their own complaint. But when you want to look at it critically, like I said before, Mr. Leo, that transition, even in family, even in companies, even in institutions, even in governments, it's a natural thing that whether you like it or not, one day you be here today, tomorrow another person will come. There will always be that room for vacancy. Now, how do we work towards there? You see, Mr. Liu, that is where the question needs to be. How do we get younger people into the area of decision making? Now, it has to also do with how much education that they get to understand how to build a nation. Now, when I look at the regime in place, I will tell you that, Mr. Liu, clearly, that the problem we're having today in Cameroon are problems that are bigger than our governments. It may baffle a lot of people that, but why our government is not able to do this? Why is our government not able to do this? Why is Mr. Bia not able to do this? Those are very fabulous and wonderful questions. But the problem we are facing in Cameroon is not a problem of institutions. It's not a problem of persons. It's a problem of a system which the Cameroonians are using that seems to keep away the old people and the young people apart. That is the core of the problem. So it is not just here of youth pick up the power. If you take this power today, you will regret that if I knew it would have been the way we have already been used to. So how do we fix all of this in such a way that young people can get into power and don't abuse power, old people can get into power and don't abuse power? The issue here is not about how old you are in power. The issue here is being able to deliver for your people. That is very important. So the age, how old is Biden? How old is Biden? How old is Biden, who just became the president of the United States, about 70-something years old? The issue is not about age. The issue is about having the willingness to build your nation, having the willingness to give your people what they need. What we are facing today in Cameroon is the similar thing we face in all African countries. Cameroon is not exempted. We don't have a special situation in Cameroon, different from what Nigeria is facing, different from what Central Africa is facing, different from what Ethiopia is facing, and all Mali and all. We don't have it. Permit me to say this. We have a problem in Cameroon whereby, like I still say, when you give a people independence and you allow them to use a democratic system, do you know what happens? It instigates ethnic groups. When you get into power, you want your people to be favored, and all the other tribes, people from the other tribes, don't get it, and they don't get enough. Because we are living in Cameroon in a very situation whereby Cameroon does not have enough looking at from our colonial history. We should not forget, like I still say, we keep putting blame on the wrong sources. We don't refuse that some of the individuals may not have to be blamed. They will take the share of blame. But we live in a country whereby every year we pay colonial tax. We use a currency which is not our own. We use a system which is not our own. We are still being influenced by another foreign force. Here we are today, we have 85% of our own natural reserves being held at the level of Swiss, which we don't have access to it. So how then do you expect the government to work at a very small percentage which they have? It means that automatically a system is being designed to keep about 85% of a population in abject poverty. Mr. Lo, permit me to say this.
Yeah, you don't find a problem with age?
But I don't find a problem with it. I just gave you an example. The man, the Biden who was just been elected in America is over 70, about 78 years old. Allow me, but he's president. Yes. Forget what I say about. He's president. This is what I want to say, Mr. Leo. I want Cameroonians to make this comparison. We have been trying one thing forever since 1960. We are in 2021 still repeating the same thing. We are expecting a different result. This democratic system which we are crying today, with almost 153 opposition parties we have in Cameroon, Cameroon has only been dipping itself into disaster. I'll give you a very good example. Let's look at Asia. All what Asia is today has nothing to do with democracy. This same democracy we talk of, England doesn't practice democracy. Germany doesn't practice democracy. Russia doesn't practice democracy. If you go to America, the kind of democracy they apply there is a one where if you have successfully built your economy, democracy can work for you. But Africa, we have not achieved 1/10 of what they had built before they brought in democracy. What do we need in Africa? Take a good example. We need people like Gagame. We just need good leaders. We don't need strong institutions. Take an example like Konak. Konak is an institution, but because it has very weak and unwilling persons, it's unable to affect its responsibility. We need, permit me to say,
no, let him land.
We need strong leaders in Africa, in Cameroon, who knows what is good for their people. When you have strong leaders, any institution becomes very strong, because it's able now to implement people who are willing to deliver the job. So it's not about institution.
You're talking about a leader who will make work function very well.
Mr. Leo, what we need in Cameroon, we need willing people who understand that this country...
Seemingly, Emmanuel, you had a problem with his discourse. Are you saying that if President Paul Biya was ensuring... I'm asking him, are you saying that if President Paul Biya was looking into the effectiveness of ELECAM, the Constitutional Council, the Senate, the National Assembly, like he's saying, that is a follow-up, somebody who can monitor, Cameroon will not be better?
It will be better.
Mr. Leo, Mr. Leo, you see, he speaks so much, and I'm unable to bring out exactly his point.
Okay, can I just ask you a question, my own question?
Yeah.
No? Okay, my question to you is, democracy, is it something that is not working for Africa, or Africans don't want to apply a democracy, or you think that Africans are yet to discover the type of governance that suits them?
That one goes back to what my co-panelists said a while ago, that we need strong leaders and not strong institutions. And if you have to make the follow-up...
Strong leaders that will ensure strong institutions.
That is it. That is very important.
Leadership and age, Mr. Leo, you cannot separate them.
Okay, go on. Yeah.
You cannot separate them. When I talk about leadership, do you think that if a president is on a wheelchair he will be able to leave from, say, Yaoundé, Douala, go and supervise work done in the Babaju. No. Let's not separate, let's not say many things that are chasing just very few ideas. You see, leadership, good leadership has nothing to do with age. Because leadership has to do with experience, as some will say. And I will tell you that experience remains experience. But experience could be wrong experience and good experience. Like the case of Cameroon, 39 years of wrong experience. A child who has a good sense of direction can acquire experience over a particular field for 3 months and do it excellently without necessarily being of age. Which goes to why he says we have to permit nature so that these old people continue to stay there, so that nature maintain them there until all their generation is gone.
That's not what I said.
Until all the generation is gone, before we can look at how to factor in the youth. And we have to factor in the youth when these people must have gone, because as of now, the youths are unable to take power. That's why he said yes. And I want to say, Mr. Leo, that if this regime has been in power and there have been no signs of succession, permit me to tell you that one of their methods has been to create satellite parties intertwining with the CPDM. It is unheard of that in a small country like Cameroon, we have about 350-something political opposition parties. And these opposition parties, today, they are opposition in the morning. In the night, they are singing praises to the president in place. I don't want to call any name here. But my co-panelists here will bear with me that PCRN is not... yes, CPRN is not very much far from CPDM, because I think that is a junior brother of CPDM. Because when you see the way they function in their activities.
Yeah, but must they function the way you want? Must they function the way you want?
Please, permit me.
No, I don't
have the culture of taking microphone from somebody, so just
just say us. Say us what you talk about.
Yes, I am saying that PCRN,
Cameroon Party for National Reconciliation.
From every indication, they are not the lone party. It's just because I've happened to cite their name.
Is that not? Is that? Please,
can you give us a fact that permit you to reach to this conclusion?
Yes. Is that not where? Please, is that not where the problem, the eternal problem of the opposition is, where another party spends time, instead of looking at the CPDM, you spend time attacking the other party?
Thank you very much, Mr. Liu.
Yeah, because we are talking of transition. Because instead of looking at how to take power, we are looking at the CPRN.
Yeah, I'm not in a political party. That's a very good question. And I think that is where our opposition has assisted in keeping CPDM in place. Because it is good to bury your differences and fight the enemy than for you to at the same time pretend that you are fighting an enemy, whereas you spend your time fighting the person whom you are supposed to put hands together to fight the enemy. I have often watched the outings of CPRN. I have shared plateau with many of them, and their language is not very much. When you heard him a while ago said, we have to be progressive. Do you know that it is this word progressiveness in this country that CPDM has used to kill Cameroonians? Because they keep promising you that we still have all the time on our side. We have to follow up progressively, whereas time keeps passing. Are you saying that? No, are you saying no, please, can we? No, please.
Give them the floor.
No,
just take and just
statement. Let me tell you what happened in 2013, please. Just a minute. When the CRM won almost 4 out of the 7 councils in the Fundi division, and there was rigging, the CPDM used this very statement to us. You have to calm down. That's what they told Professor Lenfroge. The CRM is just a young party. They have a future. You cannot just think that you come yesterday, today, and then you win councils like that. There is a procedure that needs to be... They keep on rigging elections and tell you that you need to calm down, go progressively, you need to get mature. This age is not the right age for you to rule this nation. Until when you are 60 years of age, then Cameroonians themselves will start laughing at you. This man has failed in politics. They start using the word progressively. Thank you.
Monsieur Bitogol,
Oui.
Ce que je l'ai posé, je vais aussi vous poser. Est-ce que le problème, c'est l'âge des gens qui gèrent le Cameroun ou le problème, c'est le système? La transition doit s'effectuer à quel niveau?
Ok. Bon, avant de répondre à votre question, je vais revenir sur ce que mon co-panéliste a évoqué tout à l'heure, la tromperie dans laquelle il s'est lancé. Chez co-panélistes, le PCRN n'est en rien lié au parti que vous avez cité tout à l'heure, donc je n'ai même pas envie de citer le nom. Je dis en rien. Nous avons une position loyaliste ou alors légaliste qui voudrait que tout ça va dans le même sens, qui voudrait que nous adoptons des positions qui sauvegardent la paix et la tranquillité tout en combattant le système en place de façon à ce qu'il libère et que un meilleur système que nous proposons puisse prendre la place et aider les Camerounais à subvenir à leurs besoins les plus primaires, avoir de l'eau chez lui, avoir une route décente qui évite de tuer les Camerounais tout le temps et autres. Nous ne sommes pas dans une position où, parce qu'on combat le système en place, on va nous-mêmes se mettre en porte-à-faux avec la loi que nous allons utiliser quand nous-mêmes serons au pouvoir. On va se mettre à créer des dissensions et des guerres entre Camerounais. Non, c'est pas ça notre objectif. Nous ne sommes pas dans ces lancers-là. Nous ne voulons pas opposer les Camerounais entre eux pour la conquête du pouvoir. Et moi, je vous inviterai par exemple cette semaine à assister à nos activités, à voir comment on se déploie, à voir comment on travaille. Moi, je n'ai jamais eu une relation ou alors à faire quoi que ce soit avec un membre du RDPC, quoi que ce soit. C'est vrai, on se côtoie d'ailleurs en tant que citoyen, mais ça s'arrête là. Je suis un militant du PCRN depuis 2018, ou alors 2019, parce que quand je dis PCRN 2018, on voit OMC derrière. Donc, de grâce, c'est ce genre de préjugés que vous avez qui nous maintiennent dans cet aspect de division-là. Parce que il y a un message qui est redondant de la part d'une certaine organisation politique et ça vous affecte, ça vous met dans une posture où vous n'avez aucun fait sur lequel vous pouvez vous baser pour dire que non. À partir de ce fait-ci, je pense que... Mais vous vous permettez de faire des annonces comme ça à Mondovision. Mais sincèrement, arrêtez ça. Arrêtez ça. Maintenant, pour revenir à votre question, moi, je l'ai dit tout à l'heure quand notre copanéliste panafricain parlait que les deux sont liés. Il a cité par exemple l'exemple de Joe Biden. Moi, je dirais, dans un système qui fonctionne bien, dans un système où les jeunes sont en place, où la jeunesse est en place, où l'âge moyen du système ne dépasse pas les 60 ans, on peut se permettre d'avoir un président qui a même 78 ans. Le problème, ce n'est pas la personne du président. Le problème, c'est l'ensemble du système qui travaille. Et encore que l'âge de Biden a été attaqué par les pro-Trump. Énormément attaqué même. Jusqu'à un point où il a fallu que, lors des 5 derniers meetings, qu'il arrive sur l'estrade en courant pour pouvoir démontrer que non, il n'est pas vieux. Même aux États-Unis où la démocratie est assez avancée, cet âge a été attaqué combien de fois alors chez nous ici? Donc, le problème de système, le problème d'âge, ce sont comme deux frères siamois. L'un est indissociable de l'autre. Et c'est d'autant plus que dans un système qui fonctionne de façon optimale, où les jeunes sont vraiment dynamiques, vous savez, le jeune, si on fait une analyse, par exemple, des heures de sommeil des jeunes, vous verrez que un jeune, c'est quelqu'un qui est capable de dormir 3 heures, 4 heures maximum par jour, qui travaille, pour des jeunes qui travaillent. Et notre pays doit amener justement toutes ces jeunesses-là, qui est un bien inquantifiable et qui pourrait nous donner l'avantage sur les autres continents, les autres pays. Qu'est-ce que je disais? Cette jeunesse-là donc doit être aux affaires parce qu'ils sont en âge de travail. Nous sommes à la fleur de l'âge. Nous avons toute l'énergie, nous avons toute l'intelligence nécessaire, nous avons toute l'expérience de nos parents ou alors de nos grands-parents pour nous aider à réaliser des choses meilleures. Le parent, le vieux de 80 ans, c'est clair que un papa de 80 ans, il pense plus à sa santé qu'à aller regarder, à quitter de Toudji pour aller regarder le stade qui est à moins de 5 km de chez lui. Parce que pour lui, c'est déjà un effort incommensurable de commencer à se déplacer. Imaginez, vous voyez le président en train de faire le tour du stade d'Olembe, en train de marcher, que non, la pièce y est, comment et ça, quoi. Mais ce jour-là, on risque d'avoir une évacuation sanitaire pour lui, parce qu'il se sera fatigué. Or, pour que les choses avancent, pour que les choses vont dans le bon sens, pour que la loi soit respectée, pour que l'ordre règne, il faut des gens dynamiques. Il faut des personnes bosseuses. Il faut des personnes qui travaillent, je dirais même 48 heures sur 24, qui sont en mesure de lire, même si ce sont les mails dans les entreprises publiques, qui sont en mesure de lire 25, 26 mails par jour, répondre à ces mails-là, qui sont en mesure d'enchaîner des réunions, qui sont en mesure de descendre sur le terrain, revenir, faire un rapport et tout. Il faut cette jeunesse-là. Et il faut ces personnes-là dans le système. Et ces personnes-là, on les retrouve parmi les jeunes. Donc la question jeune n'est pas seulement une question d'âge, non, c'est une question de performance physique et intellectuelle pour pouvoir mener à bien, voir un peu, le devenir du pays. Donc, jeunesse et efficacité du système, c'est lié, c'est indissociable et c'est nécessaire pour que ce pays avance. Et moi, je félicite par exemple les jeunes du PCRN. Aujourd'hui, on a un jeune député qui est dans l'Union Ekelé, bienvenue Ndip, qui aujourd'hui, lui, il passe pratiquement 6 jours sur 7 dans l'Union Ekelé. Parce que lui, il est soucieux en tant qu'assureur de la santé des populations de cette localité-là. Qu'est-ce qu'il fait donc? Tous les jours, il va de village en village, de maison en maison, pour se rassurer que le système d'assurance santé qu'il a mis sur pied, que les gens comprennent, que les gens qui ont des maladies ne restent plus avec ces maladies-là à la maison, commencent à souffrir. Non, qu'ils aillent à l'hôpital.
Les moyens, ils prennent les moyens où?
J'en arrive.
C'est parce que c'est...
Oui, j'en arrive, j'ai fini pour lui répondre. Les moyens sont simples. Le système d'assurance mis sur pied par M. Ndip permet aux Camerounais qui ont même 1000 francs d'aller se faire soigner. Et je vous rassure même qu'il y a une cagnotte. Permettez-moi de finir. Il y a une cagnotte.
C'est ça le problème. Dans quels hôpitaux? Les hôpitaux sont où?
Il faut aussi qu'on sache que la plupart, 90% des maladies.
Non, mais quand tu es malade, tu parles.
90% des maladies des Camerounais, c'est le palu, c'est la malaria, c'est.
Okay, Mr. Bitogol, I come back to you. All that, and let's look at the situation at the National Assembly and the Senate. Do you think there's need also for transition at that level, where the younger generation to take over, or it doesn't matter? What actually matters is transition at the head of the nation?
Mr. Kum, permit me answer him. There's something we said.
Okay.
Mon cher co-panéliste du PCRN, j'aimerais vous dire une chose par rapport à la façon que notre démocratie est en marche. Vous êtes censé ignorer que dans notre pays, je vous en prie, j'aimerais à ce que les téléspectateurs qui t'ont écouté parler en français m'écoutent.
Okay.
Vous êtes censé ignorer que dans notre pays, le gouvernement camerounais est moins sensible au bavardage dans les plateaux de télévision.
D'accord.
Si il y a eu des avancées dans le processus électoral et même dans les lois de notre pays, nous avons vu comment un certain parti de l'opposition a eu à travailler. Le SIF, je le cite, n'a pas resté seulement dans le bureau en train de bavarder. J'ai vu l'honorable Nietzsche dans la route. Parce que le gouvernement camerounais a peur. Quand il voit les citoyens se déployer dans la route, c'est là où vous voyez, ils sont prêts à les écouter. Voilà pourquoi à chaque moment que le MSC annonce les marches, vous voyez qu'il se déploie. Il fait sortir toute la Sénat pour le marteler. pour
réprimer.
Les réprimer. Juste parce que c'est le seul moyen d'expression qu'ils ont peur. Et cela ne veut dire pas que le MRC est un parti de vente en guerre. Cela relève de la façon que nous avons pris pour étudier la manière que le gouvernement-ci fonctionne. Si vous voyez, maintenant on parle de la décentralisation. On parle, c'est juste à cause du fait que les anglophones se sont sortis en 2016. Ils sont entrés dans les routes de Bamenda. Ils ont marché, ils ont dit assez, ça assez. Nous voulons le changement. Vous pensez qu'ils n'avaient pas pris le temps de parler sur les chaînes de télévision? Il y a eu les élites anglophones qui sont passées dans toutes les chaînes de télévision.
Personne n'a dit ici. Personne n'a dit ici là que le moyen de faire changer ce.
Je vous en prie, je vous en prie, c'est pas je vous en prie. À certain moment, je vous en prie, à certain moment, quand nous parlons que non, certains partis sont modérés, les autres sont peut-être à l'extrême.
Être modéré n'est pas synonyme d'être inactif et de rester dans les plateaux de débat.
Fabian, can you now answer my question? My question has to do with whether we think that there should be transition only at the head of the nation, or we also think that at the level of bigger institutions like the National Assembly and Senate, the leaders have been there for so long.
Mr. Kum, I said it emphatically that there is need for change at all levels, because we know that these people are already old. They cannot match with the pace of civilization. Okay. We are living in the Android generation that everything is digital. These people, you know, the more you get older, that's more less performant your brain is. But the problem in Cameroon isn't the problem of just an older generation being in power. It is the problem of a system of governance that is in place. Don't forget that it is a whole mafia that is in place. If we are thinking that the CPDM regime, you will change those old men who are at the heads of the Senate, who are the CPDM, and then you replace them with a young youth that has grown in the CPDM academy, and there will be any change in this nation, I will tell you that it's a lie from the pit of hell. Because Mr. Biya just wants to deceive Cameroonians that the problem is the older generation are ready to leave way for the younger generation to take over. We are talking the younger generation from which political school? The CBN political school that will deliver the good roads, that will give potable water for the woman in Afroa, the woman in Frukankang, the woman in Nanyajwa, the woman in Manfe to drink. I'll tell you, it's a life from the pit of hell. What we need in our nation today is a change of regime, a change of a political system, a system that there is no accountability. We are talking of the total separation of powers. There isn't any total separation of power in our country today. You find that the only two arms of the government that are working independently, you have the judiciary, you have the legislature and the executive. The judiciary is still under the executive. That is why you find that many government officials that embezzle money, you need special authorization from the head of state before that person is being prosecuted. If there isn't any special authorization from the head of state, that person will not be prosecuted. Because whosoever dares, the magistrate that dares, would be digging his own grave. The judiciary is not independent.
Are you saying, Muthaga, you are a young man, and like Atem Bako, Emmanuel, and my brother Fabian, are you saying that if you people were to be at the helm of the National Assembly and the helm of the Senate, nothing would change?
I am talking about the education.
Yeah.
If you take
are you saying that if you were at the helm of the Senate and National Assembly, nothing will change?
It depends on the education which I have. You want to talk about Muthaga? I want to tell you that.
Talk about Muthaga.
Yes, Muthaga was the first national vice president of the Padec of Jean-de-Dieu Momo.
I know.
In 2018, when Mr. Momo decided to join the old regime, it was not within the line of our politics.
Going where your national president came from?
You are talking of? Maurice Kamto. Maurice Kamto was simply an employee of the government in place.
Jean-de-Dieu Momo is an employee of the government in place.
Isn't an employee.
He is.
Let me explain to you. An employee of the system in place that speaks fervently in favor of the use of the system in place isn't just only an employee, but it's a militant of the political party that brought that person in place.
We saw a national president praising the president of the republic. You've seen it, the videos are there now.
The videos.
He said the president of the republic is one of the.
Let me explain to you. Let me explain to you something, Mr. Kum. Moses grew up in Egypt. He had all the wisdom of Egypt. But when the time came for Moses to stand up and save his people, Moses stood up. We are talking of somebody who has already gotten adequate knowledge of the ills of a system. He has fought that system and then decided to integrate the system. And a man who had not been fighting the system, he was taken into the system because the system had a problem. Don't forget that Mr. Kamto was integrated in the government of the nation simply because of the Bakassi Peninsula case that he needed to fight.
Can you just answer my question? Are you, so, according to you, Nyat Nchifenji and Kawai Uge should stay put?
We are talking.
And if you were to, you were to be given their positions, nothing would change. That's what.
No, I'm not saying if I were to be given their position. A man of my caliber that is fighting for the people obviously have the interests of the people at heart. I'm not fighting for. There are people who are fighting for change. They are struggling to change their stomachs, change their families.
I'm
yes.
saying that.
Yes.
We know the age. Are you saying that age has no factor in delivery? I'm talking about efficiency, effectiveness. A younger person would not do things differently. You are the one who raised the issue of
if you take
100 generation.
Permit me say, if you take a young youth of the CPDM and ask him to continue from where Kawai Jibril loved, you'll be enslaving this country for many other years. If you take a young youth from any other political party of the opposition or any other political party that is well drilled, has a good project for the nation, and you place in those places, I will tell you that we expect a change. So it depends the source of that youth that is placed at that particular position to manage the affairs of a nation.
Okay, the political orientation.
Orientation.
Now, yes, Andrew Atem Bako. When he's talking about, we have been talking about the ruling party, the president of the republic, president of the Senate and National Assembly. But when we look across the political platforms in Cameroon since creation, when you look at the UNDP, Beloboma Maigari has been there forever. Gaga Haman Aji of ADD has been there forever. Dakole Daisala has been there since, I'm sure, since the 1997. He's still been there. And I'm sure if Adamu Ndamjoya of the UDC, if he was not taken by death, he might still have been president of the UDC. And just recently, that the national chair of the Social Democratic Front said, okay, once there is a Congress, I'm no longer going. But seemingly across the board, the old guard are still prevailing.
The question I would like to ask is, do you go kill your father or your grandfather because he has stayed long in the family because you want to succeed him? Or do you try to build a relationship between that generation and your generation so that there should be a mutual relationship? And that's why I emphasize, where if we have a society where we don't respect our elderly persons, we are going nowhere. A clear example I'll give to you people in the name of democracy, and that is where we Africans have a problem today. And I keep saying that as long as we Africans continue to harbor these foreign institutions, we will continue to have the West solving our problem, because these issues are not problems, are not African problems, because African problems will require African solutions. We are here talking today on an issue which started way back before the 60s. And that is where I would say that France gained independence in Cameroon in 1960. That's where we are here today in 1961.
Just with your permission.
No, allow me to go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
A good example here, Mr. Leo, will be the case of Noah and Shem. When Shem saw the nakedness of his father, or rather his grandfather, he went and called the brothers. And later on, we heard that a curse was placed on him. What am I simply trying to say is that we must learn as Cameroonians to cover our problems and solve them within. When we take up the attitude and say, okay, because we are a democratic nation, I have quoted to people that the leading economy today in the world is China. They have nothing to do with democracy. They are one of the members, the veto power at the UN National Security Council. What is wrong with us that we keep wanting to use a system which does not deliver to the African people? I explain here, Mr. Leo, it will work for us for a time when we have already achieved at a certain level.
Ghana is working well, South Africa is working well.
No, it's not.
Who tells you?
No, permit me. In 1999, Cameroon,
even Nigeria next door is working well.
It's not. Look at all the ethnic violence that is happening.
You cannot compare the level of development in Nigeria.
I'm telling you that
Cameroon.
it is not. As long as I've seen in Africa where democracy has been, we have only had instigation of ethnic groups. And that's what we are still seeing today. What do we say in Cameroon? Allow me to say.
J'aimerais également qu'on fasse une chose.
Non,
on arrête de prendre les clichés, les exemples sur les autres pays. Parce qu'on a juste une belle image comme ça. Ces pays-là n'ont pas la force, la résilience économique du Cameroun.
We are talking of Cameroon.
A une force être une force puissante.
We are talking of Cameroon.
Ils sont 10 fois plus nombreux que
voilà. So,
c'est ce qui pèse.
Very well. So I am talking of Cameroon as another example of the common problems which we have been facing in Africa. So I am saying here, Mr. Leo, that we are not saying that in order to be old or in order to be, how will I put it, taller or in front or sitting in power means that you are the one to lead. No. Leadership has nothing to do with age. Leadership has to do with experience. But my problem here,
vision.
Allow me. When I use experience, that's a whole combination of all of those things. Whether it's vision, whether it's performance, dynamism.
You might have a vision. I don't have experience.
It's a whole package. But please, permit
you might have a vision.
Allow me to come in. Allow me to come in. This is the situation, Mr. Liu. In Cameroon, as in Africa, we have in Cameroon over 75% of the population is made up of the youths. Just about a small 15% or 10% is made up of these old people that we are complaining. Now, how does it work? You come to realize that it has only taken the efforts of the youths to keep these old people in power. So where is the challenge here that the younger people today are saying they want to pick up power? If you do the comparison of these two persons, it's just like him or like him here. Take him and put him at the level of the presidency. He will do even worse than what we are even seeing.
No.
I'm telling you the simple truth.
For the first time.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, Mr. Liu. I have seen people with very good vision, very good intention, but when they got into a system, it became a different ballgame.
That's why we talk of changing the regime.
That is what I'm talking about. The problem in Cameroon is a system. And so if we want to solve the problem in Cameroon, we should stop attacking and calling whether it's the elderly people or the old people. That is not our problem in Cameroon.
They are the ones maintaining that system.
Let me learn, Mr. Leo. The Queen of England is 94. Biden is 78. Biya is how many? 80.
Nobody knows Biya's real age.
Never mind. We have had old persons in power.
Nobody knows Biya's
in different countries, but the results are not the same. So I am saying that, Mr. Leo, what we need in Cameroon today, we need to remove all these opposition parties that are only keep increasing. We stop this party politics issue and understand that Cameroon belongs to Cameroonians. And it will take the solutions for the Cameroonians themselves to solve the problems which Cameroonians are facing. Okay. Cameroonians need to build a system of governance that is going to work for Cameroon. Today, Mr. Biya is trying to apply his own system, which we say in democracy, opposition parties are opposing him that you have stayed long in power, which is okay. But what I'm simply trying to say here is that we are fighting the wrong battle. You have a king in power in a democratic system. Opposition parties are there. No one is ever able to vote him out. What is the challenge, Mr. Luke? We need to understand that
he has laws that permit him to rig elections.
My brother, we have seen in all institutions in Cameroon, whether it is governmental, whether it is a government institution or private institution, corruption in Cameroon is everywhere to the last blood Cameroonian. Okay. So the problem here is not about leadership. The problem is about Cameroonians.
Okay. Good evening.
We live in this country like we are foreigners.
Yeah. Good evening, Mr.
We don't have that spirit to build the country.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. I enjoy your program, but for the fact that I do not understand the fair on the topic at the 4. I wish our panelists sensitized without preaching their party. Victor is writing from Boya. Good evening to you, Victor. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm sorry to say, okay, Drusilia, writing from Limbe. I am Bunda Benedict. I wish to appreciate the Prime Hour for educating us on some certain things, but this goes to some people in the panel. Let them talk short and talk sense rather than talking much with no sense. Okay, we hope they respect the time given to them. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Please, the house is in disorder. Tell and ask the man with the hat to maintain order. It's Raymond from Boya. I'm the one maintaining order, not him. Paul Biya a big witch man and he could die. Okay. Well, we wish everybody well. Good evening, please. The guy with the black tie, he really needs to know what he is talking about. What we need is supervision of projects. We have lots of stranded projects. Development, we need a country with good future and a country in future. Our country is not bad. We are the bad guys in the country. All my mates now found a good paid job scamming. Why all the theory education with no practicals? Okay. Good evening to you. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Please, you people should talk orderly. It's Transporter writing from Bamenda. I hope we are getting you. Good evening, Mr. Kum and Panelists. Strong men put in place weak institutions so that they can easily manipulate for the interest. Strong and independent institutions check the manipulations of the strong man. So strong men can hardly put in place strong institutions. Ndifon is writing from Bamenda. Since the people in power must die in power, there is no way for transition, e.g. into the lower and upper houses. Fai Jones writing from Ndu. Good evening to you. Mr. Armstrong says, Mr. Leo, the problem is that this country has been programmed. The highest problem we have in Cameroon is ENAM, an appointment made by President Biya. The institutions put in place are loyal institutions to serve a person and not a state. The worst is the brainwashed who feel that any position are enemies to the nation. Mr. Lea was on the electoral list for the municipal elections 2020 in Akwaya subdivision. As a youth, what I witnessed was a shame. All authorities and institutions, including Elekam, ganged up to see that CPDM wins by Mr. Armstrong. Writing from Boya, good evening to you, Mr. Armstrong. The CPDM has districted the youth of Cameroon such that the present mindset of youth is that which they will sell to the nation for 1,000 francs CFA. The youth needs to be seriously mentored in a new setup before one will expect something positive from them. I suggest that the age range for the presidency should be 45 to 65 with at most 2 mandates. Okay. Now, Emmanuel, is the problem the fact that the president stays for power for so long, or the president of the National Assembly and that of the Senate, or the issue is efficiency and output? What if we had a president who stays for long? They call it an enlightened despot. A president who stays in power for long, like the president, the former president of Libya, was in power for Gaddafi was in power for more than 40 years, but delivered. And then next door we have the president of Obiangema, and then we have Kagame, who is transforming Rwanda. Is the problem the longevity in power, or the fact that you are not delivering?
That's it.
Okay. The problems are interwoven.
Okay.
And I explain. The problems are interwoven because, you see, Mr. Biya is not the only dictator in Africa. But most other countries are not complaining because their leaders have been delivering. And now this one goes to that viewer who said, maybe I don't understand that we need follow-up in Cameroon. And I want to ask him, except he's coming from another universe, who do you want to supervise? Do I have to go and supervise? No. How many projects have been supervised in this country by Mr. Biya? At the beginning of each year in this country, we have at least 1,000 projects that are started. And by the end of the year, we have at least 999 that have been abandoned. And this is the problem with Cameroonians. They keep talking about age is not the problem, but I want to remind you that Biya came to power as at the age of 29. So, do you want to tell me that when he came to power as a youth at that time, he was so much intelligent and so much informed, so much refined than the youth who are today in 2021? Do you want to tell me that when he came to power at that time, at that age, Cameroon died and resurrected when he came of age? No, he's still the same person today. So when we are talking, we should not talk so much, say no point. We should be point blank that he has been in power for so long without delivering. And that is where the problem is coming from. And first of all, I want to make a remark. He said something there that we have two arms of government. I think we have only one arm of government in Cameroon, which is the executive arm, that overrides the other two. So we don't even have two, as he was saying. Everything in Cameroon begins from A to D and ends at A to D. That is why everybody wants to sing that song and dance. And the person who said, my co-panelist said Cameroonians should learn to solve their problems within themselves. When the father of the house is unable to stop a fight in his house, the neighbor should come in. We have President Biya, who have often told us that I'm the best student of France. Is it the citizens of Cameroon who sent Mr. Biya to go to France and say he's the best student? We have Mr. Biya, whom after one failed CPDM monologue dialogue in Yaoundé, went to France to render account to Macron. Is it the Cameroonian population or citizens who sent him to go and render account there? So sometimes when we speak, we should really understand what we are saying. You cannot say that Cameroonian problem should be solved a Cameroonian way, whereas the Cameroon leader is not living a Cameroonian way. So it's only for the Cameroonians to have a rethink. All the for me, from my personal view, the Cameroon government in place needs a complete overhaul. If God could touch the heart of these leaders, by 6 o'clock tomorrow, they tender their resignation starting from Biya. Cameroon needs to be reconstructed right from scratch.
Replanting.
Yeah,
Yes.
but are you answering my question? Is it the fact that they are old or the fact that they are not delivering?
No, they are old and they are not delivering.
Both.
And because they are old and they cannot deliver, Cameroonians are in trouble. That's why I cited other countries where
deliver because they are old and tired.
yes, no, even when they were young, because of the system, they never still deliver. That's why even when they succeed in taking a youth today to put into the power, they tell you that this is what you have to do, these are your do's, and these are your don'ts.
Who tells you that?
Okay. Good evening, Sir Lazar from Limbe. The problem of transition is absence of the Senate and Parliament in Cameroon. We don't have any of the above. Good evening, Mr. Kum. Our greatest problem in Cameroon is the institution and leadership. Dionshus Foka, writing from Kumba. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Our problem is our mentality. Educational systems, courts, and secret societies are also the old leaders are fear about their lives if they step down. Okay, Wisdom is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The political party representatives are speaking for the interests of their respective parties. Let them be liberal in their speech. System in Cameroon needs to be revived. From presidency to National Assembly, we need a change in the system of government. It is not favoring Cameroonians at all. Let's speak the truth for once. John Paul is writing from Limbe. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The old people should give way for the youth. CPDM has nothing to offer to Cameroonians again. And Boss J writing from Bamenda. Cameroonians are not the worst citizens on earth. The administration behaves just as Cameroonians. We must change the country to change. Okay, Davidson is writing from Muyuka. This one says the regime in place is enjoying the system. That's why it's maintaining the system. It's not willing to change the system because it keeps them in power. Albert is writing from Bamenda. Good evening to you, Albert. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Please ask Mr. Tem that he has a good point, but the way he presents it confuses us more. Gilbert is writing from Boya. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I think the topic for today is bigger than the panelists, except for Atem Bako. How can some panelists be talking about transition when they are afraid of elections? Mola Fako is writing from Boya. Okay, good evening to you, Mola Fako. Good evening, Mr. Kum. I think that what Cameroon needs is a total overhauling, such that the older generation should be humble enough to work hands in gloves with the youth, in which case every administrative office, be it a private or government institution, should either have a youth at the helm and an older person as an assistant, and vice versa. Only then can we be sure of a positive and long-lasting transition. Engineer Roland Aben, writing from Kumba. Good evening, Mr. Leo. My regards to the panelists. The problem with Cameroon is the problem of our leadership and conscience that has a lot to do with the age as well. Our leaders are inhumane. They work for themselves and not the population. Okay, Elvis, writing from Turkey. Good evening to you, Elvis. This one says, good evening. The problem is the age and time one person stays in power. I am Sinai Atemken in Kumba. Okay, good evening to you, Sinai. This one says, government has created other parties to destabilize opposition. It is expensive for a poor country like ours to have this number. It should be limited to 2 or even 1 opposition. The term of the president should be reduced to. Okay, I don't know where you're writing from, but good evening, Mr. Leo, to the crew. Interesting program, I must say, but I suggest it would be wise if you bring members of the ruling party to give their own side on interesting topics like this one, so we can hear from both sides. Nice program all the same. Ikambi is writing from Boya. Good evening to you. Good evening, Mr. Kum. I'm Ewe Paul from Kumba. I love your program. Please, I would like to know the numbers of Mr. Bitogol, because I would like to talk to him personally. Okay, Mr. Bitogol certainly is going to give you his number. This one says, good evening, Mr. Leo. Evening. I'm writing from DOP. My name is Evelyn. Please, I kindly invite teachers of basic education to really talk why teachers after training have to compile papers for years and still not be recruited until I'm 40 years and can no longer compile papers. Does it mean that primary schools are not important, Mr. Liu? If this government is not careful, they will one day lack teachers to teach in our primary schools. I left GTTC since 2010 and have been compiling since then and still until date. No way. Thanks a lot. I love your program very much. To God give you more strength. Thank you very much, Sister there from DOP. I am Mr. Leo. Good evening to you people. Charles Mbambu. I am very impressed with the program of today, especially the 39 years of wrong experience. Good evening, Mr. Leo, and the viable guests in the studio. Accept my appreciation for the choice of the topic, which is very pertinent. I pray it goes a long way to participate the much needed transition to ignite hope for a better future for Cameroon. Mr. Ndiwum Emmanuel, writing from Baum in Bafoot subdivision, that is out there in the northwest region. Good evening. It's Ayong in Boya. There is no way we're going to have a peaceful and free transition through elections in this country. This regime has created a system whereby it controls all the facets of the socio-political landscape. Radical change is the only way we can spoil the system. Okay, there are no 2 problems in Cameroon. Paul Biya is too old. 40 years is too much. Okay, hello, Mr. Leo. Greetings from New York City. For me, there is nothing like elections in Cameroon, my dear brothers. We all know that before going to vote, we already know the winner. Pastor Akara says, good evening, Mr. Liu and dear panelists. Please let me ask this question to our panelists. What will happen in Cameroon after President Paul Biya? Akara Pastor is writing from Boya. Good evening to you guys in the studio. I appreciate the program. For transition to be possible in Cameroon, the regime in power should accept failures in all domains and allow capable youths to test power. The president and its cabinet needs to step down. Okay, I'm Chief Justice writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Leo. no individual is a genuine democratic country should own a political party. Rather, people should share the same political vision, should belong to the same party. But Cameroon today, people own political parties and unwilling to relinquish power. But oppositions, or be it opposition or the ruling party. Ngolehene is writing from Limbe. Now, Monsieur Bitogol, we are talking about transition.
Yes.
Why, according to you, would very old persons be given mandate to head very powerful institutions? We know the age of the person who is at the head of the Constitutional Council, that at the Senate, we know how old Nyandifenji Maxel is, Honorable Kavai Yeke Jibril, Ayang Louk, and a host of others. C'est quoi? C'est la peur ou c'est parce que le président les maîtrise mieux?
Non, moi je pense que pour qu'il se maintienne à ce poste-là, c'est que le président a décidé. Parce qu'on sait que dans ce pays, comme quelqu'un l'a dit, tout commence et finit à étudier. Et tant que le président du RDPC, je préfère le dire ainsi, n'aura pas désigné quelqu'un d'autre ou alors d'autres personnes à ces postes-là, ces gens-là même, ils pourraient même être morts, que leur nom resterait là si le président décide que même à titre posthume, ils vont l'être. Donc, et ça prouve à suffisance à quel point le régime RDPC ou alors le parti politique RDPC est un système dépassé, est un système qui est construit sur des pylônes vieux à changer. Et quand on parle du système RDPC, bien sûr, on parle de toute l'administration qu'ils ont eux-mêmes construite derrière depuis 1982. Donc, la transition ou alors la transition transgénérationnelle doit se faire d'elle-même. Et qui doit l'impulser? C'est cette jeunesse-là qui a ces capacités-là de pouvoir prendre les choses en main. Aujourd'hui, si on fait une petite recherche sur les jeunes Camerounais en âge, qui ont la fleur de l'âge et qui sont en capacité de gérer ce pays, on verra qu'il y a plus de 20 000, 30 000, 50 000 Camerounais qui ont ces capacités-là, qui peuvent être à des postes décisionnels stratégiques. Mon co-panéliste disait tout à l'heure que le problème, c'est le système. Ça, c'est vrai. Mais qui impulse une dynamique, qui construit un système? C'est une personne ou alors un groupe de personnes à partir de la vision qu'ils ont du pays. Je vais prendre l'exemple, par exemple, d'une équipe de foot pour qu'on se comprenne mieux. Quand une équipe joue mal, quand tout va mal et qu'elle ne produit pas les résultats, il y a une seule personne qu'on dégage et à qui on fait porter le chapeau, c'est l'entraîneur. Parce qu'on sait que c'est l'entraîneur qui porte en lui la clé de la réussite. Pas que c'est lui qui joue à la place de tout le monde, mais c'est lui qui crée cette dynamique-là collective qui permet d'arriver au résultat. Donc pour qu'on change ce système, il faut qu'on change les personnes qui gouvernent et principalement la personne qui a la tête. Et si on le change, on met une personne plus dynamique, une personne qui a encore ces capacités-là. Bon, il ne faut pas aussi mettre n'importe qui. Je suis d'accord qu'il faut changer, oui, mais il ne faut pas changer en mettant n'importe qui. Il faut mettre quelqu'un qui a de la vision, quelqu'un qui est persuasif, que quand il parle son message, on l'écoute. Parce que les Camerounais ont besoin aussi de ce genre de discours. Et c'est cela qu'on a vu, on a commencé à entrevoir en 2018 avec l'avènement de Cabral Libé. Je pense que quelqu'un avait utilisé une expression pour désigner Cabral Libé, un ouragan. Parce que depuis 2016, depuis 2018, c'est clair qu'il y a un Cameroun d'avant et un Cameroun d'après. Et qui était ce catalyseur-là? C'est Cabral Libé, qui est ce symbole-là de la jeunesse qui a osé. Parce qu'il a très souvent l'habitude de le dire. Cabral, ce n'est pas seulement la personne que vous voyez là. Cabral, c'est l'ensemble des jeunes qui ont eu le courage de croire en lui et qui ont décidé de se mettre à ses côtés pour travailler. Il y a des images, si vous faites un peu de recherche, monsieur Kum, vous verrez qu'en 2016, quand il faisait le tour du Cameroun, Cabral était constamment avec 2, 3, 4 personnes là, dont l'une des personnes c'était Christian Diop, qui est aujourd'hui ici à Douala.
Oui, il est
voilà.
ici. Oui.
Et depuis 2016, si vous remarquez bien, toute cette jeunesse-là, c'est vrai que nous tous, on n'a pas la chance d'être des Cabral Libi, d'avoir un nom ou alors d'être des Nourans. Mais ce sont ces jeunes-là qui travaillent au quotidien. Et je vous rassure que ce message, il est compris. Donc, ce que moi, j'aimerais dire à mes compagnons aujourd'hui, c'est que arrêtons avec un discours défaitiste, arrêtons avec cet espoir, on dit que non, il faut que le système change. Non, il faut que nous, chacun de nous, changeons ce système-là. Et changer ce système, c'est s'engager.
Okay, I don't know whether Muthaga will buy what you're saying, but so Muthaga, why has it been difficult? Today we are talking of a transition. We even think that maybe the President of the Republic may give it, because he suggested about transition during his 11 February address to the youth of this nation. Why has it been difficult to take the old guard out, knowing fully well that the majority, like most of us have said here, the population of Cameroon is made up of young persons?
Mr. Kum, it isn't that the youths have not been voting for any other person. I want to completely wipe out that misconception.
I said, why has it been difficult?
It has been difficult simply because there is a system of mafia that has been built around the electoral system. If you look at the Constitutional Council, the case of 2018 that is in place, you find that the Constitutional Council, 80% is comprised of former CPDM militants. You know, you will never have to dirty the same water you drink from. These guys had served in the government for over 2-3 decades. They went on retirement and they were picked from retirement and placed as member of the Constitutional Council. Take the case of Atangana Clement. He's been picked by Mr. Bia because Mr. Bia knows he will be loyal to him. 2018, the CRM cried foul play. Elections were clearly won by the opposition in 2018, but they were rigged. That's why you saw many political parties, especially the CRM, in the street. We called for a recount of the elections, and nothing happened. What happened? Some of us were arrested and dumped in prison. Let's take the case of the embezzlement of the AFCON budget. We are talking of youth daring. Isn't that youths are not daring? Over 600 youths of the Cameroon Renaissance movement were arrested in 2019, simply because they aligned themselves in the street. They said we want the war in the northwest and southwest region to stop. There must be an exemplary chastisement of the embezzlers of the AFCON budget. Today we are running to commercial banks to borrow 55 billion francs. Who are those to pay? That money has entered into private pockets. That money was even used to create companies that will employ the youth. Many of them roaming the street jobless, first degree, master's degree, doctorate degrees, they are there. Youths really want a change in this nation. We are not in a free nation that youths can vote for somebody and then you find them, see that the election has been rigged, and they go down in the street and say, no, we want the real verdict to be maintained. If they dare, what will happen? The military, the gendarmes, police officers will be sent to the street to break their asses, bust their eyes, shoot some of them, kill them, and then you tell me it is this regime that is ready to allow the youth to ascend to power. And we're talking of peaceful change through the ballot. We will be talking about...
We need peaceful change in this country, I think.
My brother, I like you so much. I'm one of those guys that like peace. I don't want to tell you how much they offered me when some certain things happen in this nation. I think Mr. Momo is there, will know it. I think there was a time he went on TV and said there was a group of people that needed to do coup d'etat and all the like. He denounced it on TV. If I was his first national vice president, if I were to be contacted that time, I think if I didn't tell him that, or some other people, this is not good, would have. I like peace more than some of you. They are they are just rare youths like others. They can give you 5, 10, 20, 30 million francs and ask you that, oh, carry arms, and we refuse. Some of us refuse it. So, but
if the thing you say is true, I can tell you that change the party, please, because we need peace. We need a...
Non, il faut qu'il finisse.
Tu n'as même pas compris ce que j'ai dit.
Allez-y.
Je répète que nous aimons la paix. We like peace. And that is why we have been fighting for peaceful change in this nation. But how would that peaceful change occur?
You can't put in the same sentence peace and fight. I am not agree with that. Tu peux pas dire paix et bagarre dans la...
Je demande au modérateur qui a parlé de bagarre ici.
Il n'a pas parlé de bagarre.
Il a dit fight.
Non,
il a dit fight for...
Non, il a dit...
Quand on parle de fight for change, on bagarre pour le changement.
On lutte.
We fight for peace. We fight, you say that we fight for peace.
Je pense pas que j'ai fait le même école. Je suis professeur de l'anglais.
Can you just learn? Yeah. Can you learn?
Je répète ce que je dis. I repeat what I said. I said there can be peaceful change in a nation. And even if they were to be fighting for change, I want to tell that our forefathers fought for the independence we had. Fighting for change is not bad. Our forefathers fought for the independence we have today. Did they not fight? Was I fighting bad? Sometimes you find that one man's rebel is another person's freedom fighter. So if somebody is fighting for change, it's not because you believe that we must go through the peaceful way that you think everybody must behave like that. But we of the CRM, I want to repeat it, we believe in changing the nation through peaceful mechanism. That's why you have...
So you think that it's because the youth have been stifled. That is why they have not been able to capture power?
Yeah, I think so. They give them little tokens and all the like.
But the youth themselves, did they not sell out their rights?
They didn't sell out their rights. I will still come back. I said it's one of the things, but I said these youths have been voting for change. I want to repeat it emphatically.
Are you saying youths are not voting for the CPM?
Minority of them voted for the CPM in 2018. A majority voted for change. But where did their collective effort go to? It was rigged. Elections were rigged in 2018.
Okay, we had Nolinga who said he stole 8 ballot boxes
Good.
As a youth.
Even Cabrani said in 2018 that the elections were won by an opposition, that this ruling CPDM did not win.
Now, I want us to look at, we are talking about transition. How engaged are the youth as far as our politics is concerned? Do we see them taking the front line positions in fighting to turn the tables in Cameroon as far as politics is concerned?
Mr. Leo, the youths, some small number of them are interested in politics and interested in seeing how we can build a nation. But you see, a tree without a root or a man without his history is like a tree without his root. You see, when we are looking at change and we complain about the system and persons, we get confused. Like when he was saying that when they get you into power, who gets you into power? Who puts you there? And they tell you to do it. So who does that? So you realize that people come in. If you read the communal liberalism of the head of state, you come to realize that he had a very fabulous vision, like same as any of us that are seated in this panel complaining about the situation in Cameroon today. But the system which I am talking of, it is a system which was enforced in the time of our independence. That is why we still don't have a currency as an indication that we are under a system which we did not create. That means that even if you change persons, it won't change the situation in Cameroon. A good example would be Mali. Malians for 25 years have suffered under a democratic system and decided to change power. We can do that. That's another possibility. That means that the nation has awoken and realized that time for change has come. Cameroon in 1999 was declared the most corrupted nation in the world. Still stands almost till today, where right to the least Cameroonian is a corrupted citizen. So the problem here is that we have all been in compliance to what we are complaining today, whereby if you are pointing finger on this person, 10 other fingers are being pointed towards you. So what I'm saying, Mr. Leo, is that We don't need all this party politics issue in Cameroon. It's not helping us because it keeps dividing us. What we need in Cameroon, we need people who can come together. We can only build through unity. We can only build through when we come together. But this is what democracy does, what I call the Western system. When it comes in a system like what we have today in Cameroon, permit me to say this, Mr. Liu, Europe, before they brought in democracy, they had built their empires using dictators. And they had very good and stable economy after building using dictators. Same like the West. They brought in now a system called democracy. It will work for them because they already built a system. We have not built that system. When it comes to us, it becomes a tribal thing. That means that you give us a democratic system, it becomes either a party politic issue or a tribal issue. That's why we talk about A to D. Because we are not a sovereign state. And until we Cameroonians open our eyes to see that we are in Cameroon today, we pay tax to our government when we work or we own private companies or whatever. But we have a foreign country in our country. France does not pay tax to Cameroon. It has 300 companies in Cameroon, but it doesn't pay tax to Cameroon. Dividends are paid back to its own country. And then we still pay tax to France. Not only for using the currency, but for also colonial tax. And then you tell me that we have problem of persons here. We have problem of system right back from the 60s. You talk about our ancestors that fought the war in the 1957. The Marquis, the UPC, that fought for the independence of Cameroon, but that was denied. So we have to understand the root of our problem. And that is why you realize that till today, after how many 60 years, we are unable to still find our way. When somebody stands up and wants to do good, another person is here, or 20 or 30 or 100 persons are criticizing that person. So it makes it difficult for us to build this country. Today we are living in Cameroon almost like we are foreigners, because it's almost like it's not our country. Everybody wants to take from the other. Everybody wants to seize an opportunity. Cameroon today, the way it stands, somebody will say, ce n'est pas chez moi ici. This is not my place. Then where are you from? He said, no, I'm from the Northwest, or I'm from Nchang, or I'm from this. So you come to realize that Cameroon, we have had the mentality of instigating ethnic groups. This will not take us anywhere. You go to Europe, you won't find that. Nobody will tell me I'm from here, I'm from. No, they have a mind of unison. Where will you find it? Permit me to say this, please. Permit me to say this. You go to France, it's a good example. They have 3 opposition parties, political parties. You come to Cameroon.
There are more than 3.
No, there are 3. How many do you know? I know of 3. You come to Cameroon, we have 153. So you come to realize that in
300.
Pardon?
We have almost 300.
Where in France?
No, in Cameroon.
304 in Cameroon.
In Cameroon, 304. But I'm telling you, in France, 3. It's just to tell you the mentality. Allow me, permit me to say something. Please, just permit me to say something. I want to make a point here. Please. I want to make a very pertinent point here so that we really understand. You see, why can we not emerge where we are standing? We cannot emerge is that because we have not done anything. We have not achieved anything for democracy to work in the interest of our people. Therefore means that as long as we continue to open all other opposition parties thinking that either it is a RMC or it is which one or it's which one that will take over and bring the change, let me tell you something. You will sit on a hot pot. A hot pot where you cannot influence that system. Is a system that influences you. So, Mr. Leo, if we... Let me land. 10 seconds, let me land. 10 seconds, let me land.
On parvient à être comme les pays qu'il a cités parce qu'aujourd'hui, va dans tous les médias, tu verras qu'il n'y a pas plus de 5 partis qui sont invités. Parce qu'il y a des médias qui commencent à avoir cette envergure nationale là. Et c'est naturellement que les choses vont se construire. Dans 10 ans, on aura même oublié qu'il y a 300 partis. Les gens se rappelleront juste que non. Il y a le PCRN, il y a le MSC, il y a le NPC, il y a peut-être le SDF et...
Please, Mr. Leo, tell your panelists, especially the man closer to you, to write that there is only one moderator in the debate, okay? Les gens veulent suivre le débat. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Mr. Bako is making sense, please, okay? Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Tita from Bamenda, the system is old and corrupted, needs to eradicate the old and groom young patriotic Cameroonians who could change the country like what Paul Kagame is doing. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Mr. Bako is saying that if the youth claim into power, it will be more worse than the old regime. It's better to compare two things first than to condemn when they have not given the youth power. Okay, Obentiko writing from K-Town, that is in Kumba. Good evening, Mr. Liu. All the panelists in the studio have a point, but my problem is how are all these points going to be put in place irrespective of what is happening in the northwest in Cameroon? So I think that only God knows the future of us Cameroonians and Africa as a whole. Is Tech Jones writing from Limbe. Good evening, Mr. Kum. 40 is a winning number. Moses left Egypt and came back to save his people after 40 years. While in the wilderness, it took them 40 years to get to the promised land. Cameroon will come out of this mess in 2022. That is from 1972. That is 40 years. Mosongo is writing from Kumba. Good evening, Mr. Liu and Cool on board in the. It's a nice program, but will the people concerned listen and know they are old to leave power? No. It's Flavius writing from Mile 4 in Limbe. The regime has failed and will forever fail. We need to stand and stop the stupidity. This is a country and not an empire. Thank you for the topic. If the father in the house cannot stop a fight in the house, neighbors must come in. Kelly Njongai writing from Kumbu. Good evening, Mr. Kum. All or not educate the panelists in order and mutual respect. They can't keep interrupting each other, especially. Okay, Vinci is writing from Muya. All the boots leakers continue to heal the system because of their self-interest. Chief Nkongo writing from Yaoundé. Mr. Leo, good evening. What I think is the problem of our country is our leaders don't have the love of our country. They have been blinded by corruption and greed. They should copy the example of Paul Kagame. Okay, Konyi George writing from Boya. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I think what Cameroon needs is to change the Mr. image. One Mr. is having about 4 houses. President Paul Biya has no problem. His only problem is that he doesn't check the ministers. My village, Ngi, has no road, no electricity, but contacts have been given for the construction of road, but we still have no roads to want to check the contractors. Mabel writing from Yaoundé. Okay. Mabel is raising the issue of monitoring. Transition for now is not too important, but personal development of mindset is what is needed, Mr. Liu. Agbolu is writing from Long Street, Lagos in Tiko. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The problem in Cameroon is the system in place because everything is in Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Liu and co. I buy the idea of 2 of your panelists, co-panelists. I strongly believe that until the presidential term is limited to 2, a number of political parties to at most 10, then we should not expect any good governance in Cameroon. I'm Emmanuel writing from Kumbu. Messages are so many. Now, Emmanuel,
yeah.
Do you think like Atem Bako is saying that we are talking of transition, but we also find the creation of
so
political parties, and then we have youth in all of these parties instead of harnessing their energies into 2-3 parties so that they can exert more pressure. They keep wasting, dispersing their energies across party lines.
I think there I agree with him somehow. That the creation of so many political parties in Cameroon has diverted the attention and the main focus. Because the main focus would have been the party in power. But unfortunately, it is still a strategy by this party in power that creates most of these political parties to divide attention. I maintain that point. That one, I cannot.
Yes, but if you know that it is a strategy from the ruling party, why do we keep creating the parties? Because what you are saying now, almost all Cameroonians are watching that the creation of political parties is a ploy by the ruling party to destabilize the opposition. But once they are created, we still find youth who go militating in them.
Okay, let me tell you, there is a party in this country that was called Jevan. Remember, it's a coalition. Remember, all these coalition started as opposition political parties. And it comes back to what I say. The regime has succeeded to impoverish Cameroonians, then make them very hungry, so that when they throw crumbs, they will go after it, because they know that during presidential election, there will be financing of these political parties for the run-off of the political parties. But at this time, like I keep saying, that the problem of Cameroon, that's where I say I agree with him, they are above the political parties. Because mostly what is being done in Cameroon as of now is not politics. What operates in Cameroon now is hate speech, blackmailing, gossip. I don't even think that, because most of them are trying to fight each other. Whereas it is often said, if you have to spend all of your time throwing stones at every backing dog, you shall never get to your destination. So what I think is that first we need a review of our political mentality, to know that we have a focus on one direction. This is the whole we are going to remove. Not that you put one step that you want to fight the leading political party, then you spread 4 steps behind fighting your opposition colleagues. That is what has really put Cameroon where it is today.
Ok. Est-ce que vous ne croyez aussi pas qu'il est temps que les partis politiques se mettent ensemble pour conquérir le pouvoir au lieu de passer le temps à se battre entre eux? Nous parlons de la jeunesse qui...
Monsieur Kum, il y a aussi une chose que nous devons savoir, d'accord? La politique ne se fait pas essentiellement dans le sens de parti au pouvoir, parti d'opposition. Il y a aussi ce qu'on appelle des oppositions idéologiques. Parce que c'est pas parce que nous sommes du côté de l'opposition avec le SDF, l'UNDP, l'UDC et tout ça, qu'on va forcément partager la même idéologie. Pourquoi? Et je reviens à ce que mon copanéliste panafricain disait tout à l'heure, que par rapport au système, que si on ne change, si on peut faire qu'on change de parti au pouvoir, mais les problèmes demeurent. Chaque parti a donc ce qu'on appelle un projet de société. Parce que qu'est-ce qui permet le changement? Qu'est-ce qui permet à ce que le changement advienne, qu'on quitte du néant ou alors du mauvais comme on l'est actuellement au bon, à un pays qui nous fait rêver? C'est le projet de société de chaque organisation. C'est ce que chaque parti politique entend faire. Nous, au PCRN, on a proposé ce qu'on appelle le fédéralisme communautaire. Parce que effectivement, on sait où on vient, on sait où on part. Je suis d'accord avec mon copanéliste quand il dit que malheureusement pour nous, notre système n'a pas été pensé par nous-mêmes, mais a été pensé par l'Occident. Et on a fait ce qu'on appelle un calque du système occidental chez nous. Nous sommes donc de ceux qui pensons que au Cameroun, les entités qui ont, comment je vais dire, qui tiennent des leviers à la limite politique, sociale et tout ça, ce sont les communautés. On a donc conçu notre projet de société autour de ce qu'on appelle le fédéralisme communautaire. Et notre projet de société, c'est pour un Cameroun qui libère, qui protège et libère les énergies. Ouais, un peu. Nous sommes donc convaincus qu'à partir de ce projet, à partir des 11 points que nous avons énoncés sur la santé, l'éducation, l'armée et tout, on peut revenir à un climat social qui fait en sorte que la corruption est renvoyée aux calendes grecques. Que tous les jeunes, en grandissant, en allant à l'école, dans leur éducation, sachent que non, si je suis un corrompu, je suis en train de tuer mon pays et c'est mauvais parce que le Cameroun est en compétition avec d'autres pays, l'Afrique est en compétition avec d'autres continents. Et pour qu'on s'en sorte, il faut qu'on soit proactif, il faut qu'on soit honnête, il faut que le Camerounais apprenne à travailler pour son pays et non seulement attendre que son pays fasse tout pour lui. Donc c'est donc à ce niveau que je pense que non. Chaque parti politique a cette mission-là. Maintenant, est-ce que les partis ne peuvent pas se mettre ensemble? Je dis bien sûr. Si on pense tous du bien de ce pays, on peut sacrifier son orgueil personnel et reconnaître que non, tel a une force qui est nécessaire pour pouvoir conquérir le pouvoir et travailler. Mais tout comme on peut se mettre ensemble, il faut aussi éviter de marcher avec n'importe qui. Ou alors de cheminer avec des personnes qui n'entraînent que le chaos dans leur chemin, qui ne sont là que des personnes dont les effets évalués au bout d'un certain temps ne sont que dans le sens péjoratif, alors que nous construisons dans le sens positif.
Mr. Bitogol, we are out of time already. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the panelists are on board. A transition can only come without this too much mushrooms, political parties for selfish interest. We should emulate the American system, Republican and Democrats. As for me, please.
Monsieur, un point que j'ai oublié.
Non, on n'a pas le temps.
30 secondes. Monsieur, cher copanéliste, si vous interrogez un Rwandais ou un Sud-Africain qui regarde le Cameroun, il vous dira, je suis sûr, qu'il ne connaît pas plus de 5 partis politiques au Cameroun. Donc la réalité...
Non. This is Agawa Fashion, writing from Kumba. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Why is it that Mr. Bia is the only one making all the laws in the country? Upper and lower house cannot bring any change in Cameroon. Parliamentarians call themselves lawmakers. Meanwhile, they are not. Patrick Ekuna, writing from where we don't know. I want to take one last. Please, Mr. Leo, tell. Okay. Everyone has time to speak. We should respect everybody talking. That was from Tiku Felix. So many messages. Unfortunately, we are out of time. We have to end at this juncture. We're supposed to discuss 2 topics. We were unable to go through one. So on Wednesday, we are going to be looking at the electoral code. What needs to be changed, especially with proposals made by different political parties. What is it that needs to be changed in our electoral code so that it can satisfy the desires of the militants of the CRN, PCRN, and the STF, and a host of other political parties. We are going tomorrow, as usual, going to be looking at a relationship between man and the woman. So tomorrow, our regular panel is going to be here tomorrow to tell you how to overcome some of the problems we are facing in our respective homes. I want to thank you, Muthaga, for coming.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kum, and thanks immensely to all the televiewers of My Media Prime TV. And I want to encourage them to stay Scotch Awards to the My Media Prime, because it's one of the leading English channels in Cameroon.
It's not one of it. Thank you for coming, Adi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Liu. Ever since 1984, we have only had more political parties and more churches and more problems, which means that a lot has become business. So we have to think very well, Mr. Liu. While we all talk here, we are using CFA in our pocket, but we are not French citizens. So let us think twice and know where the core of our problem is. If we want to change the country, Mr. Liu, let's go back to the root and uproot the thing that has become the cankerworm in Cameroon today. Thank you very much.
Okay, also thank you to you, Mr. Emmanuel, for participating on this edition of the program.
Thank you very much. And our viewers who have been very live, and I think they should continue to watch My Media Prime.
Okay, merci beaucoup d'être passé par ici ce soir.
Merci, Monsieur Kum. It was a pleasure to me to be there for the first time. And think my Media Prime is a good channel. I discovered it today, and it's sure that I will always be connected.
Okay.
Okay.
We also want to thank the production team, Desmond and Eli and Bertrand and Noel, working at the broadcasting. We want to say, if you want to know about relationships, a husband and wife, what you should do and what not to do, take the rendezvous tomorrow on Prime 7 p.m. live on My Media Prime. We equally want to say thank you to you, Tambe Bryant, who is supervising our work out. Yes, stay blessed. Bye-bye.